According to the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of language is the principal method of human communication, consisting of words used in structured and conventional ways. There are over 6,000 different languages still spoken today. And I can say that language is much more than just a way to communicate words. In both Richard Rodriguez and Amy Tan's personal narrative about how they face different obstacles due to languages, they both explain how language can build and break down society and family, in order to portray how much it can convey emotion and intimacy, and even how a person lives their life. Humans express their emotions in so many different ways, but one of the most prominent ways is through language. Rodriguez has experienced this many times in his life, and he wrote about this in his memoir. He grew up in a Spanish family, and although he could read and write the language, he was unable to speak it. And his relatives did not take this well. Whenever his family members would speak Spanish to him, they'd usually expect him to speak Spanish back. But whenever he couldn't, they'd call him pocho. Pocho means colorless or bland, but when he heard it as a noun, which meant a Mexican American who, in becoming American, has lost their nativeness. Although he did have bad experiences, he also did have really good experiences. For example, he spoke about when his mother was ironing and she looked over at him and called him her son. He felt so loved in that moment, especially with the fact that she spoke to him in English. And even in English, it conveyed the emotion that he was looking for and she had intended to use. Now, similar to emotions, language can also convey intimacy, and the word for that is called love language. There are 5 categories of love languages: words, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving/giving gifts. Now, for Amy Tan, she talks about the intimacy of speaking to her mother and even to her husband. She became self-conscious of the English she was using with her mother and realized that she had also been using it with her husband for the past 20 years that they had been together. She says, and I quote, "It has become our language of intimacy, the language I grew up with." I find it so beautiful, the way that they speak to each other, just so intimate to them. The language is so intimate that Tan had recalled saying that her friends were only able to understand maybe 50 to 80% of whatever her mom would say, but Tan would understand 100% of it and even would be able to communicate back in the same dialect because it was their language. Lastly, language has such a large tie to identity, especially to those who are bilingual. And you can see it here.
There's the cultural part where, obviously language and culture are intrinsically tied and one cannot truly exist without the other. Therefore, many aspects of culture also contribute to one's varying self-concept, self-perception, and behavior. So, and this can include things like clothes, right versus wrong, and your values generally, your gender, status, age, and how that works with respect, the tone, pitch, and volume of your voice, family, traditions and norms, beliefs.
Being bilingual is all fun and games till you can't, ¿cuál es la palabra? La palabra cuando mueve una palabra de un lenguaje al otro. When you can't translate stuff into English because you're thinking about it in Spanish!
What is an English word you have been mispronouncing your entire life because your parent says it that way?
Ajax. My mom called all cleaning products Ajax, and she meant Ajax. I didn't realize that until I was 17 years old. And also Pirex, which is Pyrex. Who knew?
As you can see, language has such a huge impact on our identity as bilinguals, as multilinguals, polyglots. It affects so many aspects of your life. Language is such a beautiful concept that has such a large impact on many parts of lives, such as your emotions, intimacy, and identity. And while it does have many ups, it also does have its downs. It can build intimacy, but it can also portray really bad and negative emotions. And it is a huge factor in our identity, which a lot of people may or may not react positively to. But language has been connecting humans and even different cultures all around the world. While language can uplift society, it can also break it down.